Okay. In last class, based on the Newton's law of gravitation, we have discussed the different node points. Some more node points are there. Okay. Is the gravitational force is the conservative force or not? It is conservative. And is it central force or not? Is the gravitational force a central force or not? It is the central force and it is the weakest force in nature. Okay, stop your video sharing. Okay, now okay, we have to discuss the some more points. Next, here the gravitational force between the two bodies, the force exerted by one body on the other body is action. At the same time, the gravitational force exerted by second body on the first body is the reaction. So here the gravitational force has action and reaction also, but they never cancel each other, because this action and reaction, these two acts on two different bodies. If action acts on the second body due to first, the reaction force acts on the second body due to first. That means first body due to second. That's why these two, action and reaction, these two acts on two different bodies. That's why these two never cancel each other. These two never cancel each other. Okay, next note point. Suppose here there are two bodies. There are two bodies having masses m1 and m2. These two are initially separated by a distance, say, small r. Okay, suppose the central mass of these two bodies lies somewhere here. Central mass of two bodies lies somewhere here. Center of mass. The distance of central mass from the first body is say r1. Distance of the second body from the center of mass is at a distance r2 from the second body. Okay, now at this distance r between the two bodies, the distance between two bodies initially is r. At that time, you leave them. These two bodies are free to move. So then, because of attraction, gravitational force of attraction between these two, okay, they approach each other and they collide or they meet together exactly at the center of mass. Whenever two bodies, because of gravitational force of attraction, whenever the two bodies are kept at certain distance and when you release them, then because of gravitational force of attraction, they come close to each other and exactly they meet at the center of mass. Because in case of gravitational force, on this body the gravitational force acts same, on this body gravitational force acts is same. You see, gravitational force acts on this body due to this, or gravitational force acts on this body due to this, or this gravitational force acts on this body due to this. That is equal to g into m1 m2 by distance square means r square. It is the gravitational force between them. Okay, suppose it is the gravitational force acts on the second body. That is equal to mass of the second body into acceleration of the second body. Mass of the second body into acceleration of the second body. That's why here no doubt acceleration is constant. No, at this instant, acceleration constant means as far as at this distance the acceleration acts on the body is a2. Okay, acceleration of the second body is a2. This second body starts their motion with this acceleration a2, and while it is coming close to each other, the distance between the two bodies changes. That's why r changes, means decreases. Due to that, the gravitation force increases and acceleration of this body increases. So acceleration is not constant. The gravitational force acts on the body does not remains constant. If they approach each other, the gravitational force increases, so that acceleration also increases. So variable acceleration acts on the body. With that variable acceleration, okay, here as the force remains constant, rate of change in the moment of the body remains same. No, this is equal to rate of change in moment of a body. Of course, here this is equal to F is equal, this is the gravitational force acts on the say second body, then it is equal to rate of change in moment of the second body. We can write like this. Or this is also equal to rate of change in moment of the first body, dp1 by dt. We can write. Am I right? If it is the gravitational force acts on this body, then gravitational force is equal to rate of change in moment of this body. If this is the force acts on this body due to this at this instant, whenever distance between them, then the gravitational force acts on this body is equal to, according to Newton's law, second law of motion, we can write a dp1 by dt. No, it is not constant. here whenever they are approaching each other, as R value decreases, when R value decreases, F value increases. Okay, that's why here as they are approaching each other, F is not constant. When F is not constant, dP1, dP2 are not constant. But this force is equal to rate of change in momentum. Here dt cancel. So dP1 is equal to dP2 we can write now. dP1 is equal to dP2 we can write now. Okay, now you integrate on both sides. R initial momentum of the body, you see whenever these bodies are here, the initial momentum of the body for both are 0 because they starts from rest. That's why for this body initial momentum is 0. Whenever they are comes close to each other through certain distance, suppose they comes close like this, whenever it comes to this position like in this direction, suppose the velocity of this first body becomes say v1, velocity of second body becomes v2 in this direction. As they are approaching each other, at that time whenever the two bodies comes closer like this and occupies the positions here, at that time suppose velocities of the two bodies are v1 and v2, then change in momentum, it is just change in momentum only. Change in momentum means final momentum minus initial momentum. Final momentum of the first body means mass of first body into velocity of the first body, m1 v1. Okay, minus initial momentum 0 because they starts from rest, so minus 0 is equal to change in momentum of the second body means final momentum of the second body minus initial momentum of the second body is 0 because this also starts from rest. Therefore, from this m1 v1 is equal to m2 v2 we can write now. Okay, this is one equation. Next, you differentiate. Okay, later we'll differentiate. This is a equation 1. Next, this m1 into velocity of the body means suppose there is a small displacement of the body in a dt seconds. Then this v1 can be written as ds1 by dt. No, this is equal to m2 into, it can be written as ds2 by dt. No, dt you cancel them. Then m1 ds1 is equal to m2 ds2. m2 ds2. ds1 ds2 ds1 ds2 are the displacements of the body. This is ds1, this is ds2, displacements of the body. If it is the displacement of the body, then how we can write? If it is displacement of the body, how we can write this one? Here you see m1 ds1 is equal to m2 ds2. Suppose initially this is at a distance say r1, then small change in displacement is equal to m1 into, we can write dr1. No, m1 into dr1. Initially it is at a distance r1, then whenever they are approaching in a small interval of time, the change in this distance is dr1 say. Of course it is distance decreases, that's why you write dr1 minus dr1, that is equal to m2 into minus dr2 we can write now, m2 into minus dr2 we can write. Okay, therefore m1 dr1 we can write minus, on both sides we can cancel them, m1 dr1 is equal to m2 dr2. You integrate on both sides. When you integrate on both sides, then m1 r1 is equal to m2 r2 you will get. No, m1 r1 is equal to m2 r2. It is the required condition for the center of mass, no, where r1 is the distance of the first body from the center of mass, r2 is the distance of the second body from the center of mass. So it is the required condition for the center of mass to exist at this point from these bodies. Am I right? Okay, so that's why definitely here, before these two particles meet together, suppose if they are meeting to, if where they meet, that means whenever these two bodies comes closer like this, at that point, at that position, the distance traveled by first body and second body, the sum of these two must be equal to r. No, sum of these two must be equal to r1. No, so r1 plus r2 is equal to r. No, this is equation 1, this is, say this is equation 2, this is equation 3. Here in case of center of mass also we got the same condition. From this, when you solve r1 and r2, we got r1 is equal to, m2 by m1 plus m2 into r we got. Of course, from these two equations, you see from this r2 is equal to m1 r1 by m2 is substitute here and simplify them, then you will get r1 is equal to this one. Similarly, r2 is equal to, you will get m1 by m1 plus m2 into r you will get. That means before they meet together at the center of mass, because whenever this condition is satisfied, and this is satisfied, definitely the two bodies travel in this formula. R1 is the distance traveled, R2 is the distance traveled. So these two are equal. These two are equal means definitely M1 R1 and M2 R2 both are equal exactly at the center of mass. That's why the two bodies meet at the center of mass. Before they meet together, what is the distance traveled by first body means that is equal to R1. Before they meet together or before they collide each other, what is the distance traveled by second body means that R2 is the distance traveled by second body before they meet together. That's why after what time they collide each other, after what distance the two particles travel, they collide means definitely in this formula R1, R2. R1, R2 formulas are this one. Okay. So here, whenever the two bodies comes closer, here you see, then we have M1 dR1 is equal to M2 dR2. That is very, very important. That means whenever because of gravitational force of attraction between them, if the displacement of this body in a given interval of time is dR1, it is dR1. Then in the same time, what is the displacement of the second body? That is a dR2. So by this formula, we can find, if you are given dR1, we can find dR2 because M1, M2 are given. Okay. This is also important relation. So due to mutual attraction, here moreover one more thing, when you differentiate this equation, then M1 into dV1 by dt is equal to M2 into dV2 by dt. That's why M1 A1 dV1 by dt means A1, no? M1 A1 is equal to M2 A2 we can write. This is also one more relation. Okay, therefore M1, you see, here dr1 is the distance traveled by this body. As they meet together here, that whenever the first body travel a distance equal to r1 before they meet together, second body travel a distance r2. That's why we can write M1 R1 is equal to M2 R2. Suppose when the first body is at a distance of so and so, at that time, what is the distance of the second body while they are approaching each other? By using this formula, we can find. When you differentiate them, you will get M1 V1 is equal to M2 V2. Already we got here. Okay. When you differentiate this one, then you will get M1 A1 is equal to M2 A2. We will get or M1 into, suppose if the displacement of the first body, when both are released from this position, due to mutual gravitational force of attraction between them, when they are approaching each other, if the displacement of this first body is dr1, when the displacement of the first body is dr1, the displacement of the second body is dr2. By using these formulas, we can calculate everything. But because of mutual attraction, both meet together at the center of mass. Because of gravitational attraction, both bodies meet together at center of mass. That is very, very important. Of course, I think in center of mass we discussed that point. Okay. Work done by two bodies are equal to same. Yeah, we can write same. Work done, actually not work done, change in momentum is same. Change in moment of the two bodies are same. Not work done, change in momentum are same. Right. This is one point. Next, ninth one. Suppose there is a triangle. Here there is a triangle of side A. Identical bodies are kept at three corners of the triangle. All are having same masses. Then suppose this is the point A, this is the point B, it is C, and it is the equilateral triangle. Because all sides are same, no, that's why definitely this angle is 60. This is 60, that is 60, of course. Okay, it is also 60. Now, what is the net gravitational force of attraction acts on any body at one of the corners? ఈ ట్రయాంగిల్ యొక్క ఏదో ఒక కార్నర్ దగ్గర ఉన్న బాడీ మీద పనిచేసే నెట్ ఫోర్స్ ఎంత? ఒమేగా ఈస్ angular velocity. Because of mutual attraction. Okay, I will explain that point also. Revan, I will explain later. After this, you remind me, I will explain that point also. Here, what is the net force acts on any one of the particles at the any particle at one of the corners? అంటే ఏదో ఒక కార్నర్ దగ్గర ఉన్న పార్టికల్ మీద పనిచేస్తే నెట్ ఫోర్స్ ఎంత? ఫర్ అవర్ కన్వీనియన్స్, ఫర్ టు డ్రా ద డయాగ్రామ్ క్లియర్లీ, యూ టేక్ దిస్ పార్టికల్. ఆన్ దిస్ పార్టికల్, what are the forces acts? Due to this, here this is the point C. So what is the net force acts on this particle? That is say FC. FC is equal to question mark. So due to this particle, the gravitational force of attraction acts on them. That's why this is equal to say F1 or Fa. Okay, due to this particle, gravitational force of attraction acts on the particle in this direction. That is Fb. What about Fa, Fb? Are these are equal in magnitude or different magnitudes? Masses are same. Mass of these two particles are same. Distance is same. That's why gravitational force of attraction between these two particles, Fa is equal to G into mass m1, m2 means m square by distance square means a square only, no? Similarly, the distance between these two particles are also same. Mass are also same. That's why gravitational force of attraction between these two also same, no? So they are equal in magnitude, but they are in opposite, different directions. So the resultant of these two is the net force acts on them. As the magnitude of these two are equal, definitely the resultant of these two is along the angular bisector. So exactly by making an angle 30 degree with this side, the resultant force lies. That resultant force is equal to Fc. So Fc is equal to how much? Two equal forces acts on the same body at an angle 60 degree between them. Then to obtain the resultant force, we are having parallelogram law of vector addition. No? According to that formula, square root of Fa square plus Fb square plus 2 Fa Fb into cos 60. Cos 60 1 by 2, these two cancel. Here this is equal to square root of, as Fa Fb all are equal to say F. Both are same. That's why F square plus F square plus F square. That means root 3F. 3F square we can write. Therefore, Fc is equal to root 3 into F. We can write. Okay, root 3 into F means any one of them, this one. So G m square by A square. So this is also important one. This model is important. Okay, next. Okay, next you see 10th one, same concept. Okay, but there are here there is an equilateral triangle. There is an equilateral triangle. There is an here there is an equilateral triangle. One particle is kept here. One particle is kept here. Another particle is kept here. There is an equilateral triangle. At the three corners of the equilateral triangle, three particles are kept. Side is A. No doubt, this part here, this part here, this is A, B, C. A, B, C. Okay. This particle attracts this particle in this direction with a force Fa or something, whatever it may be. This particle attracts this force in this direction with a force, equal forces. Okay. The resultant of these two forces lies along the angular bisector. No? That angular bisector passing through centroid of the triangle. No? ఈ రెండు పార్టికల్స్ వలన ఇక్కడ పనిచేసే రిజల్టెంట్ ఫోర్స్ టువర్డ్స్ ద సెంట్రాయిడ్ పనిచేస్తుంది కదా. Here similarly, the resultant of forces acts on this particle due to these two acts towards the centroid. Here also towards the centroid. That means because of resultant forces, all the particles comes together, all the particles comes closer and they meet at the centroid. They collide each other at the centroid. But we have to prevent these three particles to meet at this centroid. What we have to do? So whenever the three particles are kept at the three corners of the equilateral triangle of side A, so because of mutual attraction, as the three particles comes closer and they meet at the centroid, because as the mass of the three particles are same, central mass lies at this one. That's why when you release the system of three particles, because of mutual attraction, they comes closer and they meet at the center of mass. But we have to prevent the approaching of the three particles to meet to here. The three particles must be at these places only. At this, the three particles must be at the same separations only. What you have to do? As the resultant of these two forces, that is Fc, according to this diagram here, Fc is equal to this one. No? The resultant of these two forces is Fc. Similarly, here also the resultant of these two forces, the resultant of this force and this force, that is also equal to same only in magnitude. Okay. Here, suppose if you apply any force, if you apply the same force equal to magnitude of this one, exactly opposite to away from the centroid in this direction, away from the centroid in this direction, F is equal to Fc. When you apply the same amount of force equal to Fc on the particle away from the centroid or away from the centroid, then the net force becomes 0, so that the particle will not come in this direction. Similarly, on this particle, then the particles will be here only. But in order to apply the same amount of force, the entire system is made to rotate with certain angular velocity along the circular path like this. అంటే ఈ 3 particles ని circular path లో rotate గా arrange చేశారు, so that the centroid is at the center. The 3 particles are made to rotate on the circumference of the circle with the centroid as the center. Then every particle experiences centrifugal force, no? So this centrifugal force FCF, the centrifugal force FCF acts on the particle away from the center. Similarly, on each and every particle, centrifugal forces acts. Whenever the centrifugal force is equal to the net force acts on this particle, then the particle will be under equilibrium at this place while moving along the circular path like this. Similarly, on each and every particle. So for the system to be under equilibrium, 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 that equilibrium means not approaching each other, not approaching. Okay, the centrifugal force FCF must be balanced by the net force acts on each and every particle. FC means we got there. Okay, now we substitute there. Here, whenever the entire system is made to rotate with angular velocity, say with angular velocity omega in this direction, then what is the force experienced by centrifugal force acts on this particle? By in the non-inertial frame, when you observe this particle experiences centrifugal force, no? What is that centrifugal force? Centrifugal force is equal to mass of this mr omega square, mr omega square. Suppose the distance of the particle from the center or centroid is equal to say r, then mr omega square is the centrifugal force acts on the particle, or mv omega, or mv square by r. We can write based on the given value. We can based on the question. So this is also equal to mv square by r also. If they ask angular velocity, then we have to write this centrifugal force is equal to mr omega square. If they ask speed, we have to write mv square by r. Okay, r is the distance of the distance of this particle from the center. Actually, radius of the circular path it is. That is equal to distance of the particle from the centroid. That is the radius of the circular path. What is this r value? In this triangle, what is the r value? You see, this is a, this is a by 2. This is a by 2. And this is a. Then what about this length? Square root of a square minus a by 2 whole square. That means root 3a by 2. This total height of the triangle is root 3a by 2. Then what is the distance of centra mass or this centroid from the vertex, any vertex? In the height of the triangle, the r is equal to 2/3 of height of the triangle. That is equal to 2/3 of height of the triangle means root 3a by 2, I said. So height of the triangle means this one. That is equal to root 3a by 2, you know. So 2 to cancel. Therefore, distance of the body from the centroid, r, that is equal to radius of the circular path, which is equal to a by root 3. We can write now a by root 3. Therefore, for the system to be under equilibrium, this centrifugal force must be balanced by Fc. Fc is equal to centrifugal force. You substitute. Fc means that is the same formula, no? Root 3 gm square by a square is equal to centrifugal force means, suppose if you want to find omega first, then you make them equal to mr omega square. Of course, m square cancel. So root 3 gm by a square is equal to r means a by root 3. We got a by root 3 into omega square. R omega square is equal to, do cross multiplication, root 3 into root 3, 3 gm by a cube. Therefore, that implies omega is equal to root 3gm by a cube. It is the angular velocity of the body. So whenever the entire system is made to rotate about the centroid with angular velocity omega, then on each and every particle, the net force acts on the particle towards the centroid is 0. That's why no particle comes towards the centroid. All particles making rotations without moving away from the centroid or towards centroid. They are under equilibrium. Suppose, what is the time period they may ask? Time period, if they ask, angular velocity omega is equal to 2 pi by time period, no? That's why we can write in terms of time period like this. Then what is the time period means? Time period t is equal to, we can write 2 pi, time period t is equal to 2 pi into cross multiplication, square root of a cube by 2 into gm. 2 into gm. It is the time period. Suppose they ask the speed. If they ask the speed, then how we can write in terms of speed? How we can write in terms of speed? V is equal, here we see speed we have to find. How we can find? How we can write the speed? Time period t is equal to, you see, since time period t is equal to distance traveled by speed v, no? So v is equal to, we can t is equal to, we can write this one. T is equal to this one. So t is equal to 2 pi r by, here 2 pi r by v, that means into v. Here 2 pi is there, 2 pi cancel. Then we can write v by r, no? V by r. So time period t is equal to, okay, 2 pi by capital T is equal to v by r, we can write v by r. V is equal to r omega, no? V is equal to r into omega. So that r we have written here, radius of the circular path. Okay, so by means of this we can find the v also. So this is the case. The same concept is applicable even for the 4 particles also. If the 4 particles, yeah, answer root 3 gm by aq. Root 3, sorry, 3 gm by aq. Okay, root 3 gm by aq. Very good. Root 3 gm by aq. Okay, omega is equal to root 3 gm by aq, or t is equal to 2 pi into root aq by root aq by 3 gm. Okay, right. Similarly, the same concept is applicable even for the 4 particles also. If the 4 particles are there at the corners of the square, at the corners of the square, then in that case, what is the net force action in any one of the particles, and what is the angular velocity with which the 4 particles are to be rotated so that they are under equilibrium? Concept is same. I don't want to explain that. I don't want to explain detail. Just I will give briefing about that. Here, okay. So here there is a square frame. There is a square frame. At the 4 corners of the square frame, light square frame, the mass of these rods are negligible. So at the 4 corners of the square frame of side A, 4 identical particles are kept like this. Okay. Then what is the net force acts on any one of the particles? Okay. Suppose here intersection of the diagonals is this one. It is the midpoint of the square frame O. Okay. So because of, you see, this particle attracts this particle in this direction with a force, say F1 in magnitude. This particle also attracts with the same force, no? That is also F1, no? Of course, magnitudes are same. That's why I have written only magnitude only. You should not write F1 bar here, F1 bar, because F1 bar means this force vector lies in this direction. Here, whenever F1 bar is in this direction, never be F1 bar in this direction. Only I am writing only magnitudes. That's why we can write here and here. Okay, this particle attracts this particle in this direction with a force, say F2. Okay, now what is the net force acts on this particle? Tell me. Net force acts on this particle in this direction is equal to F net is equal to F net acts on this particle is equal to, here you see these two particles, these two forces are equal in magnitude at they act at right angles to each other. The net force of these two in this direction is equal to root 2 F1. No? When F1 F2 are perpendicular to each other, then net force is equal to root F1 square plus root F1 square plus F1 square. That means root 2 into F1. F2 also acts in the same direction. Therefore, on this particle or on any one of particle at one of the corners, the net force is equal to F2 plus root 2 into F1. This is the net force acts on the particle. Because of this net force, this particle moving comes close to the center. Similarly, for this particle, for this particle, for this particle, again they meet together at the center of the square frame. But in order to prevent them, of course, what is F2 means? We can write F2. This is equal to F2 means force acts on this particle due to this. That is equal to G into mass of these two particles product m into m square by distance square means root 2a whole square, because this is the hypotenuse, no? Okay, therefore it is the diagonal. So diagonal length is root 2a whole square plus root 2 into F1 means force acts on this particle due to this particle or this particle. That is equal to G into masses m1, m2 means m square by distance square means side square. That's all. This is the net force acts on this particle. Okay, in order to prevent the movement of the particles to meet at this point because of these forces, definitely the entire system will be moved in with angular velocity omega along the circular path. Then every particle experiences centrifugal force. Here also, it also experiences centrifugal force like this. Whenever this net force balances the centrifugal force, then this particle will be here. Similarly, each and every particle lies in the same circular path only. Okay, then they are under equilibrium. So for system to be under equilibrium, to be in equilibrium, net force acts on the particle must be equal to centrifugal force. Net force acts on the particle must be equal to centrifugal force. Okay. Okay. So therefore, net force means what is the net force? Already I wrote here. Okay. Okay. Net force is equal to this one. And centrifugal force means net force already you know. Centrifugal force FCF is equal to, you see, centrifugal force is equal to, as angular, in terms of angular velocity, we had to write mr omega square. R means distance of this body from the center, that is r. That means this is the distance r. This is the radius of the circular path of each and every particle. That's why mr omega square, that is equal to m into, what about r? Because we are given a, not r. That's why what about a? In terms of a, we had to write r value. This is root 2 a, no? Half of the distance is r. That's why r is equal to a by root 2. We can write now root 2a by 2 gives this distance. Root 2a by 2 means a by root 2. That's why here instead of r we have to write a by root 2 into angular velocity square. So by using this formula here in this, instead of centrifugal, F net means this one. Therefore, from F net is equal to F centrifugal. F net means gm square by a square we can take common in these two terms. Gm square by a square we can take common. Then remaining you write 1 by 2 plus root 2. That's all. This is equal to centrifugal force means this one, ma omega square by root 2. From this we can calculate omega. In this way you have to do. Even 6 particles are there, whatever it may be. Suppose there is a regular hexagon, 6 sides. At the 6 corners, 6 particles are kept. To keep the particles in equilibrium, what is the angular velocity means? Like this, you have to draw the diagram. Net force on any one of the particles due to remaining particles you find, make them equal to centrifugal force. In that way, we can do. Okay. Next, 12th one. Just now, somebody else asked me one question. What is that question? I said, just remind me. Revan, yeah, Revan. Revan, what is the question you asked? Revan, what is the question you asked? Yeah, angular velocity, not angular velocity. Okay, whenever 2 particles are there, yes. Okay, suppose here, you see, yesterday I said, I think, not discussed. Suppose here, this is one particle having mass m1. There is another particle having mass m2. Sorry, there is another particle having mass m2. Okay, Here the central mass of these two particles lies here. So from this, is m1 is more or m2 is more? Is the mass, this mass of this first particle m1 is more or m2 is more? As central mass is nearer to this one from the diagram, obviously m1 is greater than m2. Okay. Suppose the distance of central mass from the first particle is say r1, distance of the second particle is say r2, so that the distance between these two particles is say r. Okay, now here this particle attracts this particle in this direction, this particle attracts this particle in this direction. Okay, so the gravitational force of attraction between these two particles F is equal to G into masses m1 m2 by distance square, means the distance between the two particles is r, that's why r square. Here suppose at this position, just because of attraction forces, these two particles comes closer and meet at this point, but to prevent these two particles to meet here so that they are at equilibrium only at that separation, you make the system to rotate. You make the system to rotate like this. Then these two particles rotate about the central mass with the central mass as the center. So suppose this is rotating with angular velocity omega. This is also rotating with the same angular velocity only. Then only whenever the angular velocities are same, always these two particles are exactly opposite to the central mass here and here. Okay, that's why the two particles are having same angular velocity omega. This also having same angular velocity. Okay, now this force acts on this particle or this particle, provides the necessary centripetal force. The gravitational force of attraction acts on one particle due to other particle. This provides, whenever this provides necessary centripetal force, or whenever you make the particle to rotate along the circular path with angular velocity omega, this experiences the centrifugal force that is balanced by this attraction force. Or this gravitational force of attraction acts on this particle when provides the necessary centripetal force for this particle. Centripetal force means mr omega square. M, this is r2, because radius of circular path of this particle is r2 only, no? About the central mass they are rotating like this. Okay, about the central mass they are rotating. That's why m2 r2 into omega square we can write, or m1 r1 omega square we can write. Anyone you take, when you find omega value, you will get same. From this, of course, m2 cancel. So from g m1 m2 by r square is equal to m2 r omega square r2. Okay, therefore here m2 cancel. Therefore omega square, omega is equal to square root of omega square, omega is equal to square root of g m1 by r square. R means r1 plus r2 whole square into r2 into r2. So what is the time period? Means this is equal to omega is equal to 2 pi by capital T, we can write 2 pi by capital T. As the angular velocity of this particle both are same, time periods are also same. That is the formula for time period. Okay. So from this we can write time period T is equal to 2 pi into cross multiplication. So here R1 plus R2 whole square into R2 by G into M1 you will get. Okay. Yeah, distance of the centroid from the vertex of the triangle is 2/3 of height of the triangle. Yes, that is a formula. Okay, straight down. Okay, so in this way we can find the angular velocity of this particle in this. But always the two particles are exactly opposite to the central mass of the system. Okay, this is the time period. Next. So gravitational force of attraction between these two particles G m1 m2 by distance square means r square provides necessary centripetal force m2 r2 omega square or m1 r1 omega square we can write. Okay, from this we have to calculate omega. Omega means from this formula, omega means m2 m2 cancel, of course. Omega square is equal to g m1 by r1 plus r, g m1 by r means r1 plus r2 square is there into r2. Omega square is equal to, omega means under root, that is equal to 2 pi by t. So okay, this is the formula for time period. It is the formula for angular velocity. In this way we have to do. Okay. Yeah, we can substitute R2 also. Here we can substitute R2 also, because we can substitute R2. How we can substitute R2? Okay, here only you substitute R2 also. Because we, at what distance center of mass lies? Suppose if you are given only R, small r is given, R2 is not given, then how we can find R1? From M1 R1 is equal to M2 R2. This is equation 1. And R1 plus M1 R1 is equal to M2 R2. R1 plus R2 is equal to R. Then from this we can write R1 is equal to M2 R by M1 plus M2. Already we know. Similarly, R2 is equal to M1 R by M1 plus M2. No. You substitute this R2 value here. Then angular velocity omega is equal to square root of G into M1 by R1 plus R2. You keep R. R1 plus R2 is equal to R. So R square into R2 means you substitute this one. M1 R by M1 plus M2. Okay. So M1 plus M2, M1 cancel, not this one. Okay. Therefore, omega is equal to, we can write square root of G into M1 plus M2 by R cube. R cube. Suppose if you are given the distance between the two particles R cube, or R1 plus R2 whole cube, we can write. This is equal to time period. 2 pi, it is in terms of time period, means 2 pi by t. This is the formula. Very, very important. Okay. Even you take M1 R1 omega square is equal to G M1 M2 by R square. And if you find omega and you substitute R1 is equal to M2 R by M1 plus M2, again you will get the same formula. Again you will get the same formula. That indicates both the particles are having same angular velocity and the same time period. Okay. So here, because of mutual gravitational force of attraction between the two particles travel whenever they are under equilibrium. When the two particles are made to travel along the circular path about the center of mass, then the two particles are under equilibrium at the same separation only. They are rotating, but always the two particles are exactly opposite to the center of mass of the two particles. So the gravitational force of attraction between the two particles is made equal to the centripetal force acts on the particle or acts on this particle. From that I calculated omega value. Okay, this is the 12th one. Next, 13th one. In this note points, based on the Newton's law of gravitation, almost all it is the last point. Once it was given in advance also. Here there is a solid sphere. There is a solid sphere having certain mass capital M, radius capital R, radius capital R. At this point, there is a small particle having mass m. There is a small particle of mass small m, and here this particle lies outside the solid sphere. When the particle lies outside the solid sphere, then in order to find the gravitational force of attraction between the large sphere and this particle, this large sphere can be treated as a point mass at the center, its center. అంటే దీన్ని కూడా దాని సెంటర్ దగ్గర ఒక పాయింట్ మాస్ లాగా మనం ఇమాజిన్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. అప్పుడు సేమ్ డయాగ్రామ్ మనం suppose this perpendicular distance between the two the sphere and this particle, distance between the sphere and particle or distance of the particle from the sphere means from the center of the sphere only, that is equal to say x. This is equal to say x. Okay, now the same now while finding the gravitational force of attraction acts on the particle lies outside the sphere, then we can imagine the sphere as a point mass at its center, and due to that point mass m, whatever the gravitational force of attraction acts here, the same force acts at this point due to this sphere also. At the same time, due to the small particle also, same gravitational force of attraction acts on the solid sphere also in this direction. Okay, now here due to entire solid sphere, what is the gravitational force of attraction you find? Suppose if you make a cavity, just you make a cavity of radius small r. Suppose when you make a cavity of radius small r, then what is the gravitational force of attraction acts? F is force acts on, force means gravitational force. Force acts on, this is the particle. Force acts on M due to solid sphere without cavity. Solid sphere without cavity. Okay. When cavity is made, what is the gravitational force of attraction acts on the particle due to the remaining sphere they asked. So in order to find the gravitational force of attraction acts on the particle due to remaining sphere when cavity is made. So first you imagine that there is no cavity. Due to entire solid sphere at this point you find the force, that is the force due to entire solid sphere FSS. Okay. From this force acts on the particle due to entire solid sphere, you find the gravitational force of attraction acts on the particle due to the the cavity only. Due to cavity you find. So gravitational force F cavity, that means it is the force on M due to cavity. And if we feel that at the cavity mass is there, due to that mass, what is the gravitational force? So force on M due to cavity. Due to cavity means due to mass at cavity. Okay. Then when cavity is made, the force acts on the particle due to remaining sphere. Due to remaining is equal to force acts on the particle due to entire solid sphere. From this force, you subtract the force due to cavity. Then you will get force due to the remaining sphere. Force due to remaining sphere. You have to read the gravitation chapter very thoroughly, because the same chapter is there in electrostatics. In electricity also, electrostatics is there. That all the terms in electrostatics and here in gravitation, both formulas are same, almost all same. But instead of masses here, in that chapter, we will take the charges. Instead of constant G, we will take another constant there. Remaining all formulas, all approaches are same. That's why it's a very, very important chapter for this advanced or mains. Okay. No, I will explain rod particle concept. I will explain now. After this, I will explain. Okay. Next. So this is the force acts on the particle due to the remaining sphere. Of course, you know, whenever the mass of the entire solid sphere is M, then what is the mass of the cavity means? By considering the volume density, we can find the mass of this one in terms of capital M, because this small r is given in terms of capital R. It is equal to r by 3, like that it may be given. Based on that, the mass of the sphere can be found. When you know the mass, then from this particle, what is the distance of this cavity means? From the center of the gravity, what is the distance of this particle? We know that we know from the data, we know from the given data. Then you find due to this cavity at this point, what is the gravitational force of attraction on this particle? You find what is the gravitational force of attraction you find. Okay, then we can find the gravitational force of attraction on the particle due to remaining sphere when cavity is made. Okay. So these are the some important note points in related to Newton's law of gravitation. Newton's law of gravitation. Okay. Next. Okay, you see. Suppose there are two particles separated by certain distance. There are two particles separated by a distance, say r. Separated by a distance r. Okay. Suppose the third particle of mass m. Third particle of mass m is third particle, say m3. Third particle of mass m3 is kept on the line joining the two bodies. Then, due to this particle, the gravitational force of attraction acts on this particle in this direction. Force acts on third particle due to first particle. Similarly, on the third particle, gravitational force of attraction acts on the third particle due to second particle is in this direction, that is F32. Suppose if these two forces are equal in magnitude but opposite in direction, because the third particle is kept at a distance say r1 from the first particle, at a distance r2 from the second particle. Okay, then if the gravitational force of attraction acts on this particle due to this particle F31 and due to this particle F32, if both are equal in magnitude, what is the net force acts on the particle? What is the net force acts on the particle? 0. Whenever net force acts on the particle is 0, then the M3 is said to be under equilibrium. No? For M3 to be under equilibrium, M3 to be under equilibrium, M3 to be under equilibrium, F31 must be equal to F32. What is F31? Gravitational force of attraction acts on this particle due to this. That is equal to G into M1 M3 by R1 square. No, force of attraction acts on this particle due to this is equal to Gm1 M3 by distance square means R1 square. Force of attraction acts on this particle due to this, that is equal to Gm M2 M3 by distance square means R2 square. Here Gm3 cancel. Therefore, M1 R1 square, M1 by R1 square is equal to M2 by R2 square. Then they ask the question, this question like, where the third particle is to be kept so that the third particle experiences no force, or the third particle is under equilibrium. In between the two particles on the line joining the two particles, where should be the third particle be kept so that it is under equilibrium? For the third particle to be under equilibrium, the condition is this one. For equilibrium, the condition is this one. Okay. So whatever the mass of the third particle, when you kept it exactly at this point, the net force acts on the particle becomes 0 so that it is under equilibrium. Okay, this is also important concept. Okay, these are the some important note points related to Newton's law of gravitation. Okay, now the new concept, gravitational field. That is very, very important topic. Just like electric field, you have studied in electrostatics. I think in electricity you have studied the electric field, magnetic field, like that. Electric field you have studied. Here, just like electric field, here the gravitational field. Next heading, gravitational field. Before that, we have to discuss the acceleration due to gravity. Acceleration due to gravity. Acceleration due to gravity, it is represented by small g. Of course, you know the acceleration of a freely falling body due to gravitational force of attraction, that is called acceleration due to gravity. No, Vamshi Krishna, tomorrow I will discuss the paper. Vamshi Krishna, because more concepts are there. When I say the concepts more, then only you can do the problems in homework. That's why today I want to discuss the concepts only. Okay, Vamshi Krishna. Right. So here, acceleration due to gravity means the acceleration of a freely falling body due to gravitational force of attraction. That is called acceleration due to gravity. Suppose here, this is the Earth. This is the Earth of mass capital m. Center is R, radius capital R. One particle having mass m is kept on the surface of the Earth. A particle having mass m is kept on the surface of the Earth. Okay. Then what is the acceleration due to gravity acts on the particle? Okay, acceleration due to gravity acts on the particle means, here first of all tell me, when the particle of mass small m is kept at this point, then what is the gravitational force of attraction acts on the particle? Gravitational force of attraction acts on the particle. F is equal to, as this particle lies outside the sphere, then the outside the surface, as it lies on the surface of the Earth means outside the sphere only. Then due to this Earth, what is the force means? The entire mass of the Earth can be imagined as a point mass at the center, and due to this, whatever the force acts on them, that is the gravitational force of attraction acts on the body, which is also called as the weight of the body. That is also called as the weight of the body. That's why gravitational force of attraction, gravity or gravitational force, or weight of the body. Weight of this body is called gravitational force of attraction acts on the body. So gravitational force of attraction acts on the body is equal to G into mass of the earth, mass of the particle by distance square means radius of the earth square, as this particle lies on the surface of the earth. Okay, this is equal to m into a. M into a. A is the acceleration of the body. Because of gravitational force of attraction acts on the body, whatever the acceleration with which the body travel, that is called acceleration due to gravity, I said, according to the definition. That's why this is equal to force acts on a body, that is equal to mass into acceleration of the body. That acceleration is called acceleration due to gravity, you know. On the surface of the earth, if the acceleration due to gravity is g, then g you write, then m cancel. Therefore, acceleration due to gravity on the surface of the planet or surface of the earth, in general surface of the planet or surface of the earth, that is equal to capital G capital M by r square. It is the acceleration due to gravity on the surface of the earth. For any other planet means it is the mass of the planet, it is the radius of the planet. Suppose if the same body lies here, then what is the acceleration due to gravity means you find the gravitational force of attraction between these two and make them equal to m into g. That g is the acceleration due to gravity at this place. Formula is same, gm by, that means g into mass of this planet or mass of this body by r square means distance of the body from the center square. That's all. Suppose if acceleration due to gravity is always along the direction of the gravitational force acts on the particle, that means towards the center only, you know. So acceleration due to gravity is always towards the center, g all towards center of earth. That is very, very important. Suppose if the body lies here, if the particle of mass m lies here, it is the center of the planet or earth of radius capital R. Suppose this particle is at a distance, say at a height, say small h. Okay, then the gravitational force of here at this point or at a height h, what is the acceleration due to gravity? Acceleration due to gravity on the surface of the earth is represented by g, and at certain height h, acceleration due to gravity is gh. So what is gh means? First you find what is the gravitational force of attraction acts on this particle due to this planet or due to earth. That is equal to g into mass of this earth into mass of the particle mm by distance square means this distance square means r plus h whole square, no, r plus h whole square. This is the gravitational force, that is equal to mass into acceleration due to gravity at that place is equal to gh. mm cancel. Therefore, acceleration due to gravity acts on the particle at this height, gh is equal to gm by r plus h whole square. Gm by r plus h whole square. Okay. Suppose if height of the body is negligible when compared with radius of the earth or planet, then h you ignore, then gm by r square, you will get this formula only. If height is considerable means whenever the height is comparable with radius of the earth, like h is equal to half of the radius, 1/3 of radius, 1/4 of radius, like that, then we have to write this, we have to consider this term also. If height is 100 meter and radius of the earth already we know 6400 kilometer, when compared with that one, this height to 100 meter can be ignored. That's why when you ignore them, then gm by r square is the formula. Gm by r square is the acceleration due to acceleration due to gravity. So in this way we have to do. So this is about acceleration due to gravity. Here actually you see gravitational force of attraction acts on the particle of mass m is equal to gmm by r square. That is equal to mg. G is equal to this gravitational force by mass, no? Gravitational force by mass m, that is equal to g only, no? That means the gravitational force of attraction acts on the particle of unit mass. అంటే m మాస్ కల ఈ పార్టికల్ మీద పనిచేసే గ్రావిటేషనల్ ఫోర్స్ ఇదైతే, వాట్ ఈస్ ద ఫోర్స్ యాక్ట్స్ ఆన్ యూనిట్ మాస్ మీన్స్ బై m. If this is the gravitational force of attraction acts on the particle of mass small m, then what is the gravitational force of attraction acts on the particle of unit mass means by m you divide. Of course mm cancel, by m you divide. Then that is the gravitational force of attraction acts on the particle of unit mass, that is equal to acceleration due to gravity, you know. That's why therefore gravitational force acts on unit mass is also called as acceleration due to gravity at that point. Acceleration due to gravity at that point. Okay. Yeah, if the small mass is inside the earth, I will discuss. That is new concept. Okay. So these are the This is about acceleration due to gravity. On the surface of the earth, acceleration due to gravity is not constant. On the surface of the earth, acceleration due to gravity is not constant. It varies on the at different places. The acceleration due to gravity is also different. Okay, because the density on the surface, density of the earth on the surface at every point on the surface of the earth is not constant. Where the mineral deposits are there on the surface of the earth, at that place the density is more. When density is more, acceleration due to gravity is more. You see here, note point here. First one, acceleration due to gravity on the surface of the any planet or earth is equal to gm by r square. This is equal to, if mass is more, acceleration due to gravity is also more. This is equal to g by capital R square into mass of the planet. Almost all planet or earth, almost all spherical in shape. If the density of the earth is rho, then the mass can be written as volume into density. No, as earth is almost all spherical in shape, then 4/3 pi r cube into, it is the volume into density gives mass, r square cube cancel. Therefore, acceleration due to gravity on the surface is equal to 4/3 pi g into r rho. Where the density is more, acceleration due to gravity is also more. Where the density is more, acceleration due to gravity is also more. Okay. At the center of the earth, acceleration due to gravity is 0, no? Stop your video sharing, please. At the center of the earth, acceleration due to gravity is 0, no? లేకపోతే ఒకసారి నీ ఫోటో అట్లాగే పెట్టినా మ్యాగ్నిఫై చేస్తా, అందరు చూస్తారు. ఓకేనా? నీ వీడియో అట్లాగే షేర్ చేస్తా ఉంది. ఓకే, ఒకసారి నీకు వీడియో చూసుకోవాలనుకుంటే ఒకసారి మొత్తం షేర్ చేస్తాను, చూడు, పిన్ చేస్తాను, నువ్వు చూసుకో. ఓకే, యు ఆర్ వెరీ ఫైన్. Right, now it is not P, it is the rho. Rho is the density of the earth, density of earth or density of the planet at that place. So where the density is more, the acceleration due to gravity is also more. Where the density is more, acceleration due to gravity is also more at that place. Okay, right. Okay, now here variation of acceleration due to gravity. Acceleration due to gravity means already you know. Now variation of acceleration due to gravity at different places. How we can find? Variation of acceleration due to gravity. First, altitude. Altitude means height. First, on the surface of the earth we have to find. On surface of earth. On the surface of earth, what is the acceleration due to gravity? Already we got z is equal to, on the surface of the earth, acceleration due to gravity is equal to gm by r square. That is equal to gm by, this can also be written as like this, no? So 4/3 pi capital G r into rho, we can write. This is the acceleration due to gravity on the surface of the earth. Okay, at certain altitude, it means acceleration is this only, no? Second one, at an altitude, it is important for IP point of view also. At altitude means height. Already here we discussed it. Suppose it is the earth or any planet of mass m and radius capital R. From the surface of the earth at a height small h, there is a particle of mass m. At this point, what is the acceleration due to gravity? Okay, we had to find the acceleration due to gravity at this point. So you imagine a particle of mass m here. Then what is the gravitational force of attraction acts on that particle? gravitational force of attraction acts on that particle is equal to G into capital M into small m, mass of the particle by distance square means R plus H whole square. That is equal to M into, at this height acceleration due to gravity GH, that's why mgh. At this point, if the acceleration is equal to say GH, then mgh, mm cancel. Then GH is equal to Gm by capital R plus small h whole square, no? But acceleration due to gravity at a height h is equal to Gm by R plus h whole square. But from equation, from this one, since on the surface of the earth, as acceleration due to gravity is equal to Gm by capital R square, then capital G, capital M. Because if you are given small g, then what is the acceleration due to gravity at a height h means in terms of small g we had to write. Gm is not given. That's why M is not given. That's why Gm can be written like GR square, no? So small g capital R square by R plus h whole square. Therefore, GH is equal to G of R by R plus h whole square. We can write. It is the acceleration due to gravity at a height small h when h is comparable with radius. H is comparable with radius. Okay. So from this you see, this is equal to, we can write this as R plus h by R whole to power of minus 2, no? R plus h by R whole to power of minus 2. Can't we write like this? Can we write like this or not? Can we write like this or not? Okay. Therefore, this is equal to G of, you split them, 1 plus h by capital R whole to power of minus 2. G of 1 plus h by R whole to power of minus 2. If h is by far less than capital R, if h is by far less than capital R, then h by R value is very less compared with 1. Very less compared with 1. Whenever in this expansion, 1 plus x whole to power of minus 2, in which x is very small compared with 1, then we can use the binomial expansion. No? You apply the binomial expansion. It is the case when h is very small compared with R. Okay, therefore GH is equal to G of you expand this term, this bracket term by using binomial expansion, and you neglect the higher terms, then 1 plus minus 2 into h by R. That means 1 minus 2h by R, no? This is the higher terms are neglected. Then it is the acceleration due to gravity at a height h when h is very small compared with R. Acceleration due to gravity at a height is equal to G of 1 minus 2h by R. Okay. Next, sometimes in this, at what height the acceleration due to gravity reduced to 25%? At what height the acceleration due to gravity reduced to 25% or becomes half? Next, if acceleration due to gravity reduces to 50% of G on surface of the earth, G on surface of earth, comma, then height h is equal to dash. Height h is equal to question mark. At any height h, acceleration due to gravity means this only, no? GH is equal to G R square by capital R plus small h whole square. Okay. Acceleration due to gravity reduces to 50% of the acceleration due to gravity on the surface of the earth. In this formula, G is the acceleration due to gravity on the surface of the earth, no? At a height h, acceleration due to gravity, this one, it is reduced to 50% of this one means G by 2 only, no? This is equal to G by 2, which is equal to G R square by R plus h whole square. Okay, so here GG cancel. Then you do cross multiplication. Then R plus h whole square is equal to 2R square. R plus h is equal to root of 2R square. That is equal to root 2 into capital R. Implies h is equal to root 2R minus R. Therefore, small h is equal to root 2 minus 1 into capital R. It is the height of the body at which the acceleration due to gravity reduced to 50%. Reduced to 25%. What is the height? 25% means the acceleration due to gravity becomes 1/4. That means g by 4. Again, you simplify them, you will get answer. In this way, we can do. Okay. It is acceleration due to gravity at altitude. Next, at depth, acceleration due to gravity at certain depth from the surface of the planet or Earth. So third one, acceleration due to gravity at certain depth. GD at certain depth. Suppose this is the Earth. It is the center of the Earth. Mass is m and radius is Kepler, of course. Radius is Kepler. At a certain depth from the surface of the Earth, at a depth d from the surface of the Earth, what is the acceleration due to gravity? GD is equal to question mark. Okay. Here by taking this distance means what is this distance? That is say y. From the center, the distance of this point where acceleration due to gravity is to be determined is at a distance say y. By taking this y as the radius, you imagine a sphere inside it. Okay, this is the core part. This is the core part. Due to core part only, attraction force acts on the particle in this direction. Due to the core part only, attraction force acts on this particle. Attraction force acts on this particle here towards the center. Okay, due to the remaining part, the net force acts on the net force acts on the particle at this point. Due to remaining part is 0. Why it is 0 means, you see, at this point, due to this remaining part, attraction force acts in this direction. Due to the remaining part here, attraction force acts in opposite direction. These two cancel each other, so that net force acts at this point becomes 0. Due to this mantle part, it is called mantle. This shell part is called mantle, and it is the core part. Due to core part only, at this point, acceleration due to gravity exists. Okay, but here, when you move inside the Earth, the density plays a vital role, because when you move into the Earth, based on the density also, acceleration due to gravity changes. That's why you have to write the acceleration due to gravity in terms of density. Okay, on the surface of the Earth, acceleration due to gravity G is equal to Gm by R square. No, that is equal to G by R square into M means volume of this sphere, solid sphere, 4/3 pi R square, 4/3 pi R cube into density rho. R square cube cancel. Therefore, acceleration due to gravity is equal to 4/3 pi Z R into rho. Okay, suppose here, when you go deep into the Earth, if the density is constant, then based on the radius of this sphere, the acceleration due to gravity depends. These are constant and this is also constant. So acceleration due to gravity directly proportional to radius, due to which acceleration due to gravity exists there. Okay, therefore there are two cases. At this depth, acceleration due to gravity GD by at the surface, acceleration due to gravity G is equal to, at depth, acceleration due to gravity is directly proportional to radius of the sphere, due to which gravitational attraction acts at this point. Due to the sphere only, that's why y by acceleration due to gravity on the surface of the Earth means that depends due to the entire solid sphere of radius Kepler. That's why G is proportional to Kepler. So now GD is equal to y into G by Kepler. Y into G by Kepler. What is y value? Y value means we are not given y value. Depth is given, radius of the Earth is given. That's why R minus D gives y, no? That's why y means you write R minus D into G by R. Therefore, acceleration due to gravity at a depth GD is equal to G of R minus D by R minus D whole by R, means 1 minus D by R we can write, no? This is the acceleration due to gravity at a depth d. From depth means always measured from the surface of the Earth only. Acceleration due to gravity at a depth d. Okay. At the center, what is the acceleration due to gravity? At the center means at what depth that point lies? At what depth that point lies? At the center means, at the center means from the surface of the earth, the center is at a depth equal to capital R. So you substitute D is equal to capital R. Then R cancel, 1 minus 1 0. That's why acceleration due to gravity at the center of the earth is 0. No? Therefore, at center of the earth, at the center of earth, D is equal to capital R. Therefore, GD is equal to 0. Therefore, at the center of the earth, acceleration due to gravity is 0. Therefore, at center of earth, acceleration due to gravity, G is equal to 0. This is very, very important point. At the center of the earth, acceleration due to gravity is 0. Next, fourth one. It depends on local conditions. Local conditions, how G value varies. Local conditions means, on this, as we know, earth is not perfectly sphere. Of course, we consider this, we derive these formulas by taking as earth as a solid sphere, almost all. But when you keenly observe, the earth is not perfectly spherical shape. It is in elliptical shape like this, no? That means earth is, it is a center. Earth is bulged at the equator and flattened at the pole. Suppose this is a north pole, it is a south pole. We know earth rotates about the polar axis now. This is the line passing through two poles of the earth. That's why it is called polar axis. About this polar axis, the earth spins with angular velocity omega, time period capital T. Mass of the earth is of course m. Whenever the earth rotates about the polar axis, then as it is rotating like this, each and every particle on the surface of the earth experiences centrifugal force. Centrifugal force. Okay, that's why here at this point, as the distance of this particle from the center is large, more centrifugal force acts because angular velocity is same for each and every particle. Whenever the more centrifugal force acts, all the particles at this surface means the plane passing through center and perpendicular to the polar axis, that is called equatorial plane. It is called equatorial plane. Equatorial plane. So on the equatorial plane, at this point, each and every particle is far from the axis of rotation. That's why they experiences more centrifugal force and they move away from the axis of rotation. Due to that, the earth is bulged at the equator, or it is raised at the equator, and it is flattened at the poles. Because of this reason, the radius of the earth is more at the equator and less at the poles. Whenever the radius of the earth is more at the equator, radius of the earth is more at the equator and less at the poles. So where the acceleration due to gravity is more, as earth is flattened at the poles, as earth is flattened at the poles. Okay, radius of the earth at the poles is less. When it is less, G will be more. That's why acceleration due to gravity at the poles is more, maximum. At the equator, it is minimum, because at the equator only the surface of the earth is far from the center of the earth. That's why here acceleration due to gravity is minimum at this point. At the poles, it is maximum. At the poles, it is maximum. Here at the poles, at the poles, it is approximately 9.87 like this. At this point, it is 9.7 like this. When you take the average value, that is equal to 9.8. So average acceleration due to gravity is 9.8 meter per second square. Average acceleration due to gravity is approximately 9.8 meter per second square. Okay, that is the acceleration due to average acceleration due to gravity. But at the poles, it is maximum. It is about 9.82 like that, 9.82, 83 like that. At this point, it is 9.78 like that. When you take the average value, approximately gravitational force of attraction acts on any other planet becomes zero only when it is at infinite distance. Only it is at infinite distance. ఎందుకంటే గ్రావిటేషనల్ ఫోర్స్ ఆఫ్ అట్రాక్షన్ ఈక్వల్ జిఎంఎం బై ఆర్ స్క్వేర్. ఆర్ ఇన్ఫినిటీ అయితేనే F0 అయ్యేది. కాబట్టి ఇన్ఫైనైట్ డిస్టెన్స్ లో ఉన్న బాడీస్ మీదే గ్రావిటేషనల్ ఫోర్స్ ఉండదు. అంటే ఇన్ఫైనైట్ డిస్టెన్స్ అనే థియరిటికల్ కాన్సెప్ట్. కాబట్టి ఆన్ ఈచ్ అండ్ ఎవ్రీ ప్లానెట్ డెఫినెట్లీ అట్రాక్షన్ ఫోర్స్ ఇస్ దేర్ డ్యూ టు సన్. బికాస్ ఆఫ్ దట్ రీజన్ ఓన్లీ the gravitational force of attraction acts on each and every planet due to sun, provides the necessary centripetal force for each and every planet and makes the planet to travel along the elliptical path around the sun. Okay, right, it is the okay. Now here because of shape of the earth, It is the shape of the earth. Because of shape of the earth, how does acceleration due to gravity changes? Means here, because of shape of the earth, because of shape of this earth, acceleration due to gravity is more at the poles and maximum at the poles and minimum at the equator. At poles, G maximum. At equator, G minimum. At poles, G is maximum, and at the equator, G is minimum. Okay, the average value of that G is equal to 9.8 meter per second square. For mathematical convenient, we will take acceleration due to gravity as 10 meter per second square. Okay, already we know. Next. Fifth one. Acceleration due to gravity, variation of acceleration due to gravity with latitude. Variation of acceleration due to gravity with latitude. So variation of acceleration due to gravity with latitude. Suppose if Earth is almost all spherical in shape, if Earth is almost all spherical in shape, almost all spherical in shape, having mass m, radius capital R. Okay, it is the polar axis. It is the polar axis. The Earth rotates about the polar axis with angular velocity say omega. Okay, the plane passing through center of the Earth and perpendicular to polar axis, that is called equatorial plane. So this is the equatorial plane. Equatorial plane. Equatorial plane. Center of the Earth is say O. Here there is a particle having certain mass at this point. The line joining the position of the particle and center of the Earth, it is the position vector. This position vector makes an angle phi with equator, that is called latitude angle or simply latitude. Okay, therefore phi is the latitude angle or simply latitude. Okay, at latitude phi, what is the acceleration due to gravity? That is say g phi. G phi. With latitude phi, acceleration due to gravity at latitude g phi is equal to question mark. We have to derive the formula for this. Okay, whenever the Earth makes rotations about this axis, the particle on the surface of the Earth also rotates about the same axis, no? Like this, about the same axis. Each and every particle, except the particles on the axis of rotation, every particle lies on the axis of rotation has zero velocity. But remaining all particles are having same angular velocity as that of the Earth. So each and every particle is having same velocity about this axis. Here any particle, here any particle, every particle on the surface of the Earth except on the axis of rotation, each and every particle is having same angular velocity omega. Whenever this particle is having angular velocity omega, then this particle experiences centrifugal force away from the center. For this particle, as it is rotating along the circular path about this axis, then it experiences centrifugal force mr omega square, where r is the radius of this circular path, but radius of the Earth is given as capital R. So here you see, if it is capital R, if it is phi, this is also equal to phi. Then what is the smaller value in terms of capital R? Smaller value in terms of capital R is r cos phi is equal to small r, no? Small r is equal to r cos phi. So of course in terms of capital R we can write this small r. It is the centrifugal force acts on the body. At the same time, on this particle, gravitational force acts in this direction. No? What is the gravitational force acts on the particle in this direction? Gravitational force is say F. That gravitational force acts on the particle F is equal to G into mass of this earth, mass of the particle, G mm by distance of the particle from the center is equal to radius. So gmm by r square we can write. Gmm by r square. Okay. Suppose on the surface of the earth, if the acceleration due to gravity on the surface of the earth due to gravitational force of attraction as it acts in this direction. Okay, now that is F acts in this direction. You resolve this force into component. What is the component of this force in this direction? Or in other words, you see, what is the net force acts on the particle? When you find the net force acts on the particle, you see what is this angle? To find the net force, we need the angle between these two. This is 180. Angle between this line and this line is 180, in which phi is there. So this is equal to 180 minus phi, no? So whenever the particle rotates, earth rotates about the polar axis, this particle experiences two forces. One is gravitational force, another one is centrifugal force. The resultant of these two forces is the net gravitational force. So net gravitational force acts on the particle is equal to net gravitational force acts on the particle here is equal to m into net acceleration due to gravity at this point. That means m into net acceleration due to gravity at this point is considered as g phi. That's why you write g phi, which is equal to net gravitational force means square root of this force square plus this force square. That means f square plus mr omega square whole square plus 2 into f into mr omega square into cos 180 minus phi. 180 minus phi. Okay, therefore from this square root of f square means we can write what is f square? Gmm by r square, no? F square means we can write gmm by r square. Okay. In other words, we can have in a simple manner, you see, instead of writing like this, you take the component here. Instead of writing, of course, it becomes lengthy. So if you divide you divide this centrifugal force into components, one component in this direction, one component along tangential direction. If it is phi, definitely this is equal to phi. So this component is equal to mr omega square cos phi. This component is mr omega square sin phi. There is no role of acceleration due to gravity acts on the particle towards the center by this. Okay. Here now on the particle at this point, mr omega square cos phi acts in this direction and f acts in this direction. So net force acts on the particle in this direction. Net force acts on the particle towards center. Towards the center. Towards center, net force acts on particle. F net is equal to gravitational force minus mr, gravitational force minus mr omega square cos phi. Okay, this is equal to F means what is F value? Here this can be written as, you see, this can be written as m into g, no? G means whenever there is no rotative motion on the surface, when there is no rotative motion of the earth on the surface of the earth, at any point acceleration due to gravity is g only. Suppose if there is no rotation of the earth about the polar axis, if the earth stops, then the earth is perfectly spherical surface. Because of rotation of the earth around about the polar axis, each and every particle at the equator experiences more centrifugal force. Due to that, earth is bulged at the equator and flattened at the poles. Suppose if there is no spin motion of the earth, then no centrifugal force experienced by any particle. That's why the earth is spherical shape, perfectly spherical. In such case, acceleration due to gravity on the surface of the earth is a g. In that case, whenever there is no rotation of the earth, there is no spin motion of the earth about the polar axis, acceleration due to gravity at the equator, at the poles, at every point on the surface of the earth, if density is constant, g is same. That is say g. So g is the acceleration due to gravity here g is the acceleration due to gravity. We can imagine at the poles, acceleration due to gravity at the poles, this can be imagined. Okay, so now F net is equal to, F means gm by r square can be written as g into small m is there, so now you write mg minus m into r means small r is equal to r cos alpha, no, r cos phi, no, so r cos phi into omega square into cos phi. F net means m into net acceleration due to gravity at this one, that is g phi. M you cancel, then g phi is equal to g minus, here m is cancelled, so r omega square cos square phi. Okay, this is the net acceleration due to gravity at latitude angle phi at this point. Ante latitude means with equator, with equatorial plane, at what angle the particle makes, at what angle made by the particle which lies on the surface of the earth, that angle is called latitude angle. At this latitude angle phi, what is the acceleration due to gravity means g phi. Okay, therefore this is the formula. Now from this formula, you see, suppose when phi is equal to 90, where the particle lies, when phi is equal to 90, where this point lies, where the particle lies here, that is at poles. When it lies at poles, phi is equal to 90. When it is 90, then g90 is equal to, when phi is equal to 90 at poles, phi is equal to 90. At that time, acceleration due to gravity is g90, you write. That is equal to g. G means it is the acceleration due to gravity on the surface of the earth when no rotation is there. Okay, minus r omega square cos phi. Cos 90 means 0, no? That's why 0. That is equal to g only. That's why acceleration due to gravity at the poles is same as the acceleration due to gravity on the surface of the earth when there is no rotation. Okay, therefore, this can be written as, next, what is the acceleration due to gravity at the equator? At equator, at poles, phi is equal to 90. Okay, since phi is equal to 90, we got g90 is equal to g. At equator means what is the phi angle? Latitude. At equator means that point lies here, so that latitude is 0. When latitude is 0, then z0 is equal to g minus r omega square into cos 0 square, means 1 only, since phi is equal to 0 degree. So this is the relation between acceleration due to gravity at the poles, at the equator, and angular velocity. Okay, suppose in this, what is omega? Omega is the angular velocity of rotation of the earth around the about the polar axis. About the polar axis, that omega is equal to 2 pi by t also we can write. What is t value here? T is the time period of rotation of the earth around the polar axis. What is this value? What is the time period of rotation of the earth about the polar axis? 24 hours. That's why this is equal to 24 hours. That means 76,400 seconds. So we can convert them into seconds now. So this is the time period. Okay. So we had substitute that value here. Now definitely some g0 at the equator, some g acceleration due to gravity exists. Suppose if you make the angular velocity of rotation of the earth about the polar axis 17 times the present value. ఇప్పుడు యాంగులర్ వెలాసిటీ ఎంత అయితే ఉందో, యాంగులర్ వెలాసిటీ అంటే 2 π by t అంటే 24 hours, సబ్స్టిట్యూట్ చేసి సింప్లిఫై చేయండి. వాట్ ఎవర్ ద యాంగులర్ వెలాసిటీ టు దట్ ప్రెజెంట్ వాల్యూ ఆఫ్ యాంగులర్ వెలాసిటీ, ఇఫ్ యూ మేక్ 17 times, 17 folds or 17 times, you increase the angular velocity of rotation of the earth about 17 times the present value about the polar axis, then this value is almost all equal to z. Then g0 becomes 0. Acceleration due to gravity at the equator becomes 0. So when omega becomes 17 times the present value, then acceleration due to gravity at equator becomes 0. Therefore, g is equal to r omega square. G is equal to r omega square. Okay, when g is equal to r omega square, then g by r is equal to omega square, implies omega is equal to root to g by r. What is omega? That is the angular velocity of the rotation of the earth about the polar axis at a present. Okay, now from this is equal to 2 pi by capital T, no? 2 pi by capital T. So capital T is equal to, we can write 2 pi into root r by z, no? It is the time period of rotation of the earth. It is the time period of rotation of the earth. So whenever the angular velocity becomes 17 times the present value, 17 times the present value, then these two are equal. When these two are equal, then this becomes 0. So in that case, the time period is equal to 2 pi into root r by z. It is approximately, when you substitute the values, radius of the earth is 6400 kilometers, and acceleration due to gravity on the surface of the earth is approximately 9.8 meter per second square. When you substitute them, simplify them, approximately you will get 84.6 minutes. You will get 84.6 minutes. Okay, 84.6 minutes. Okay, this is the variation of the acceleration due to gravity with latitude. When latitude increases, that means when angle increases, cos value decreases. When cos value decreases, you see, when latitude increases, cos value decreases. When it decreases, then this value increases. So acceleration due to gravity increases. That is very clear. When latitude increases, we are moving towards the poles. That's why acceleration due to gravity increases. No. When cos value decreases, we are moving towards the equator. When cos value decreases, this value increases, so that this value decreases. Hence, acceleration due to gravity decreases. Okay. So this is about the variation of the acceleration due to gravity due to various parameters. Okay. Next, okay, these are the different cases of variation of G with various parameters. Okay, next. Gravitational field. Today, based on these concepts, you have to do the problems. Gravitational field. Tomorrow, shall I explain this tomorrow? Am I explaining tomorrow? Okay, gravitational field. Suppose here one body is kept at this place. One body, a spherical shaped body, whatever the shape, one body having some mass is kept here. Okay, if you keep another body here, because of gravitational force of attraction, this body attracts by this body in this direction. Of course, because of earth, as the attraction force is more, it comes down, not moving towards this one. If earth is not there, definitely when you keep one body here and another body is here, as the mass of this particle is less, then it is attracted towards the body. That means the influence of this body acts on this body at this place also. Similarly, around this body, up to which distance their influence acts around this body, the entire region around the body up to which their influence acts or felt, that is called the gravitational field. The region around the body up to which their influence acts on the other body, that region around the body is called the gravitational field. ఆ gravitational field లో ఏ పాయింట్ దగ్గర సరే, ఏ పాయింట్ దగ్గరైనా సరే, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ here there is a body having certain mass. There is a body having certain mass. Suppose when you keep a particle here, then this particle is attracted by this body. That's why because attraction force acts on this particle. Attraction force acts on this particle due to this body. That's why the influence of this body is there here. Similarly, suppose if we keep the particle here, the attraction force acts. That means influence is there. In this way, the region around the space or region around this body up to which the influence of this body acts on that other body, other body, then such entire region is called the gravitational field. So the region around the body up to which their influence act is called gravitational field. The region around the body, up to which gravitational influence, up to which gravitational force, or up to which gravitational influence acts is called gravitational field. Theoretically, the gravitational field around the body having some mass is extended up to infinity. Theoretically, the gravitational influence acts on the body, acts around the body up to infinity. That's why gravitational field is extended theoretically up to infinity, but practically up to certain distance only the influence can be neglected. But neglected means it's not zero, but neglected. Theoretically, it is extended up to infinity. At infinity only, acceleration due to gravitational force of attraction acts on the body becomes zero. Okay, suppose if the body is nearer to the surface of the earth, is the attraction force acts on the particle is more or less? If this one particle is kept nearer to the surface of the earth, is the gravitational force of attraction acts on the particle is more or less? More. If the same body is kept far from the surface of the earth, is the attraction force is more or less? Less. That means the influence of the gravitational influence of this body acts on the other body changes with the distance. It is more at the nearer point and less at the farther point. So how does the influence of this body acts at different points in the region, at different points in the gravitational field? How does the influence of this body exist at different points in the gravitational field around them? In order to know them, we can say the influence of the gravitational influence. We can say the influence of the gravitational influence of the body at different points around them can be studied in terms of two parameters called the intensity of gravitational field and gravitational potential. The influence of this body at different points in the gravitational field can be studied in terms of two parameters which are called the intensity of gravitational field and gravitational potential. So the influence of or the gravitational influence of the gravitational influence, that means gravitational force. The gravitational influence at different points in the region of gravitational field, can be explained, can be known in terms of intensity of gravitational field. That is very, very important point. Intensity of gravitational field and gravitational potential. Intensity of gravitational field is represented by E and gravitational potential is represented by capital V. Okay, so the gravitational influence at different points in the region of gravitational field can be known in terms of intensity of the gravitational field and gravitational potential. Where the intensity of gravitational field is there, at that point the gravitational force acts on the particle is more. Where intensity of gravitational field is less, at that point the gravitational force acts on the particle due to this body is less. Similarly, gravitational potential also. So what is the intensity of gravitational field? What is the intensity of gravitational field? Now, simply the intensity of gravitational field is also called as the gravitational field only. Intensity of gravitational field. intensity of gravitational field, that is represented with capital E. Here you see on the surface of the any body at certain distance from the center of the body, here there is a particle of mass small m is kept. Okay, the distance of this body from the center of this body having mass capital M. Suppose it is a earth. One particle is kept at a distance smaller from the center of the earth, outside the surface of outside the earth at a distance smaller. Then what is the gravitational force of attraction acts on this particle? Gravitational force of attraction acts on this particle is equal to G into M by distance square, means R square. No, it is the gravitational force of attraction acts on the particle of mass M due to earth. Here it is the gravitational force of attraction acts on the particle due to this body having mass capital M. Okay. Then what is the gravitational force of attraction acts on the particle of unit? What is the gravitational force of attraction acts on unit mass of the particle? It is the gravitational force of attraction acts on the particle of mass M. Then what is the gravitational force of attraction acts on the particle of unit mass? By M. That's why F by M. This is called intensity of gravitational field at that point. It is called intensity of gravitational field at this point, which is equal to G into capital M by small r square only. No, it is the intensity of gravitational field. It is the intensity of gravitational field. Okay, here it is numerically equal to acceleration due to gravity at this place. No, because in previously at this point to find the acceleration due to gravity, we got the same formula. That's why it gives the numerically it is equal to acceleration due to gravity at that place. Acceleration due to gravity at this place. Okay, that's why this is numerically equal to acceleration due to gravity at that place. So intensity of gravitational field is numerically equal to acceleration due to gravity also. So due to various bodies inside and outside, what about the intensity of gravitational field? Due to rod, due to straight rod, due to arc, in a rod in the form of an arc, what about the acceleration due to gravity? What about the intensity of gravitational field at different points? We have to discuss. So in next class we'll discuss. Okay, right, Nana, have a nice day. I'm signing out. Okay, Nikhil. Okay, right, have a nice day. I'm signing out. Okay, Nana.